This is DMG and welcome to the DMG Info channel, and normally there are going to be videos about how to make dungeon terrain from household items and trash and simple basic color palettes that's easy for anyone of any crafting expertise to do. But this video is going to be a little bit different. Thank you for joining me, and of course, if you'd like to financially support the making of this channel, please go to the dmg.info/store, and all the purchases you make there will help continue these videos coming out, the crafting videos, not this fireside chat which we're about to have. Now, a good friend of mine, DM Scotty, if you don't know who he is, the DM's Craft is the channel. He not only sort of created this small niche that we all live in, but he also is well known for proliferating different versions of terrain for your tabletop role-playing experience. And he recently put out a video that was how to dungeon master with terrain and miniatures. I wanted to use that as a stepping stone. So he used an email as a stepping stone to answer a whole bunch of questions, and I suggest you go and watch that video. It's very informative and it will help you. But I want to take a slightly different tack, and I want to use this as a way to kind of approach what's going to be happening with the DMG Info, which is this channel. This channel is about creating terrain when you're playing in person. Now, a significant number of people play online. I say a significant amount of people. There's some people who play games that are in person, that have a person that is Skyping in, or they're using a webcam or something to that effect, using a tablet or something, and they're playing with the group and they're using terrain. And then there are people who play purely online. So when I play with people from all over the world on my 7D System channel, I'd love to be able to use terrain. So I thought, I need to start thinking about this when I'm actually creating my terrain. So you've got two aspects to terrain and to playing the game. You got the terrain itself, and then you have theater of the mind. So Scotty talked about a whole bunch of things, when you're building terrain for certain things, and he will then play theater of mind for certain aspects of the game, normally social interaction. But how do we bring this to the online experience? How do we get people who want to do the crafting, who want to play the games, but they can't find an in-person group for the crafting they want to use? They'd love to play online, but they also want to craft. So we need to get the craft from the offline games to the online games. So let's think for a bit about how this all works at the moment. So at the moment, to do that, you would then have to have a web camera pointed at your terrain from the top down to see what's happening from above. Or you would have the web camera in amongst the terrain, and you would then, the person would be able to see what's happening, but they may not be able to see the rest of the people in the group unless you're using two accounts, and it starts to get all kinds of, it's a little bit messy. But either way, terrain really helps when it comes to combat and exploration. So positioning in combat, where they are, what's happening around, it's a shortcut and a shorthand for when you're doing combat. Now, a lot of people who play virtual tabletops will obviously have experiences that this is why virtual tabletops are taking off. And basically, this is just digital terrain, effectively. And you're able to move your little guy around just with your mouse, etc. But we want to take the terrain experience, the physically making three-dimensional terrain, and extend that experience, because otherwise you need accounts and you need all kinds of other things with virtual tabletops, or you actually want to use your terrain in a virtual tabletop. So one of the ways is obviously photography is one way to do it. Build your terrain, take photos, use that in your online game. great way to, one, use your terrain, and B, you've got a whole lot of images you can then throw up and say, okay, this is where you are, this is what it looks like. And you put the camera at all kinds of different angles, and you can use lighting effects and Photoshop, and you know, you can put in your minis that you've got to say, here's the monster, and you can do angles and all kinds of crazy stuff. So photography is one way to do it. But we also want a situation where you have the minis and the player says, I want to go over there and I want to have a look what's there. Or I want to go there, I want to be behind the dragon, I want to be over there by those two goblins, etc. So that is the kind of experience we want to try to push into online games. And I think obviously for the people who can't find games locally and the people who are playing online but want to craft terrain, I think this is where it's pretty much going to start going. Whether you're 3D printing or you're using cardboard or XPS foam, or you know, you're doing Wylock tiles or you're doing my tiles or you're doing BMCs, it doesn't matter. It's about trying to move this to a more online oriented crafting space. The key things are camera position. How do you determine direction? So what I tend to use is I usually have a clock face. So you have 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, etc. And you then are, the online players are saying, okay, I want to move to 3 o'clock towards that goblin. So you can then move. So one person is controlling the movement of the miniatures, which would be the DM, and the players are basically then just playing visually to the DM's camera. So whether you're using two cameras or one camera, we'll go more into that in future videos. But these are the sort of things we're going to have to start thinking about, because as this hobby progresses, more and more and more things are going to be going online. And obviously it's nice to be able to play with buddies you used to play with 20 years ago. You can do that online, even though they live at the four corners of the world. Terrain also improves exploration. So the ability to explore a dungeon or to explore a wilderness or that sort of thing, that's where terrain becomes fantastic, because you're able to then once again use shorthands to build up a great looking scenario that your players will obviously enjoy. Again, this is also done on virtual tabletops, and theater of the mind. A lot of people, okay, you're walking through the forest, etc. It adds to that. So a lot of theater of the mind players, I don't want to play with minis, I don't want to play with terrain. Terrain and minis add to the experience. They don't actually take anything away. So because they're usually a shorthand, so you can always embellish things that you see with more description, but from a positioning standpoint, it really helps players to identify where something is in the environment, rather than you having to say it's to the left of the door, or it's, you know, it's over by where the cupboard is in the far left corner. They'll start to get confused because their imagination is drawing a different picture to your imagination. And so once you have something that everyone can look at, everyone starts to be on the same page. The one thing that terrain tends not to help with is social interaction in the games. So when you're going to a marketplace or a tavern and you're talking to the innkeep or whatever, it doesn't tend to add much to that, because positioning is not something that's super important, except from a standpoint of atmosphere. In this instance, having the tavern, having the marketplace, etc. available for view gives you an idea of the atmosphere, a sense of space that actually the location that you're in helps with. So in a sense, yes, you can then use terrain for that, but you need to remember that it's more for atmosphere than it is for, okay, now move, 5 feet this way. And, it's not about positioning anymore. It's about atmosphere. So the type of terrain that you're actually going to be making is going to be different in that way, because you may not need the same sort of exploratory or combat oriented space that you had before. So there's a lot of ways that you can mix Theatre of the Mind and terrain and get benefits throughout your game, both in person and online. So what's going to be happening with this channel is that I'm going to start a transition into a new style of terrain that's going to take into account Theatre of the Mind and is going to take into account online play. Now, this does not mean that I'm changing the principles of this channel. The principles of this channel will remain the same, which is cheap, easy, simple to do, and use low budget products. So we're not going to be going, okay, you need to go and buy a $500 printer or something. That's not what this is going to be about. We're going to keep the principles of what this channel was built on, but we are going to shift gears into a different style of terrain. I would love to hear from you what your suggestions are about what can be done in this realm of online playing with terrain, and also what can be done in terms of more Theatre of the Mind oriented terrain. I'd love to hear that in the argument section below, where of course there will be many people who will be discussing a wide range of topics. What I think is important, we're going to maintain the things that people enjoy. So you're going to have the dungeons, you're going to have the minis, you're going to have all these things. So we're not going to be shifting direction in a way where it's like, oh, I can't play that way, or can't. This is going to be something where you're actually going to be going, I think I might give that a try for certain aspects of my game, or for the whole game, or things like that. So I'm taking into account things like storage. I'm taking into account things like you're taking it to cons. I'm taking into account you're using it online. I'm taking it into account that you don't have a huge amount of time. So there's going to be a wide range of different things that are going to help you with these aspects that are going to really shift where we're going in this channel. Now, obviously other channels do different styles of tiles and different, and even Scotty's channel has switched from his original tiles to his next, and then his 2.5D next, and then of course to his Tilescape isometric system. Well, essentially that's what's happening here. This hopefully will be something that a lot of people will enjoy. It will open up the terrain to a lot more people who they don't want to be crafting all day, every day. They may just want to do it occasionally. This is the kind of sort of thing we want to open up. And as new games come out, with Pathfinder 2.0 announced, Starfinder, and lots of science fiction type things, I want to move into science fiction terrain. I've been talking about it for a while. So there's a lot of scope for that sort of stuff to happen as well. And we will start to see some of those come through. But really this gear shift is to open this up to more people that will then utilize terrain more so in various different games than would have been used before. So that's really what this is all about. And hopefully you enjoy what's coming. There's only one person who knows exactly what it is at this point, and he's about to appear at the end of this video. So I urge you to check out the other channels in the Tabletop Crafters Guild. They are Black Magic Craft with Jeremy, and of course Wylock's Crafting Vids with our friend Wylock, the Measure Man. So if you like this video, click the like button. And now we'll just hand it over to His Lordship, the Craft Father.
Surprise! Hey, DM Scotty here. You might wonder what I'm doing here on Gareth's channel, the DMG Info. Well, I'm also one of the Tabletop Crafter Guild Guild Masters. Oh, that's a mouthful. And I just wanted to say hi. Make sure to check out my channel if you haven't checked it out. Check out all the other channels on the Tabletop Crafters Guild. Make sure you go to our Facebook page and our website. Check out all the wonderful stuff we have on there. And you guys go forth and craft, go forth and game, have fun, and keep watching those Tabletop Crafters Guild videos.
Well, if you'd like to see a video that I recently put out, check it up over there. There's this video down here, which is one that YouTube recommends. You can subscribe to this channel here, and one of my other channels that's in the DMG universe is available down there. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the future. I'm in the future now, but yeah, I will see you in the future.